Today's episode features a teaching from Bryan, who, in addition to serving as pastor of River City Baptist Church, has also served as a college instructor and guest speaker for hundreds of churches over the past 2 decades. Thanks for joining us, and enjoy this teaching excerpt from Bryan Sams.
What would you say, why would you say this class is important for us? Since probably half of us in the class do not feel called into pastoral ministry. That is a great question. Now, let me ask the question just to verify. How many of you have a definite call to preaching ministry? Okay. So it's less than half. Okay. All right. Let me answer this question for you, because this is a great question. All right. The truth is, men, homiletics, at least this class, the way we've designed this class, homiletics 1, could be offered to anybody. It could be offered to ladies, quite honestly. Now, I don't mean that ladies can be called to pastoral ministry. I'm trying to draw a parallel here. The parallel is I'm teaching you how to study the Bible and prepare a sermon. The same principles would be true for studying for a Sunday school lesson. Because anytime you are to teach the word, to present a lesson to someone, you're supposed to rightly divide the word of truth. And you all should have some level of competency in public speaking. So let me try to make it as understandable to you as I can. Let's say one of you graduated, one of you guys that you don't feel called to ministry, you're working wherever you're working. Let's say you're working for, some marketing company, and you get an opportunity to move to Florida in Jacksonville, and you show up at my church, and you're like, hey, Dr. Sams, man, I was in your class, and I got married after college. My job assigned me here. I thought, man, I want to come to your church if I'm going to be in Jacksonville. And I'm going to be like, awesome. That's great. If I felt like, if I knew that you went to Bible college, that you've got some theological training, you've got some good character, you're living for the Lord, I would hope that I would be able to count on you to be involved in the ministry here, which could include speaking, possibly teaching. Again, I know not everybody's gifted to teach, but to be able to rightly divide the word, to be able to assist in ministry, even as a volunteer, I just think it's priceless. So for those 2 reasons, number 1, everybody needs to learn how to be a public speaker. If you cannot communicate to people, you are not going to be very valuable even to your company. Okay, you follow me? Everybody should be able to publicly speak well. Number 2, all of you guys should be equipped and ready to serve in a local church, and you would be very helpful to a preacher if you were able to communicate and teach, children, teach teenagers, teach a Bible class or whatever. So hopefully that helps you there. Does that make sense? Anybody got a follow up there? I hope you will take this class very seriously, because I think it would be a disappointment for you to graduate from Appalachian Bible College, or anybody going to any Bible college for that matter, and go out into the world and set the bench at a church when you could be one of the most valuable assets a church could ever have. I mean, think about it. Think about the average church out there, 75 people or less. Okay. I think it's 50% of the churches are 75 people or less. Like 75% of the churches are under 200. I just think of how incredible it would be for you to step in and be like, "Hey, pastor, I work in this field. I'm a marketer. I'm an accountant, whatever. But I just want to help." I mean, I think about this, guys. My church, I have about 300 members in my church. My youth pastor is a volunteer. My youth pastor is not quote unquote in full-time ministry. He's an insurance guy, has a great job. And man, I just so appreciate him. He's never been to seminary, uh, but he is a fantastic Bible teacher, loves our kids, and really couldn't afford, quote unquote, to be to have the salary of an associate pastor or anything like that, because he's got a good job and he's got kids and all that. But to be able to serve as a volunteer in that capacity is literally priceless. So I think you need to change your thinking. Not that the question is a great question. I think you need to adjust your thinking on college in general. And I think you need to think, man, I'm being equipped for life. Okay, specifically in those two areas, teaching the Bible and just generally public speaking. Okay, I'm gonna keep moving. I'm gonna move on for about 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna take a break, and I'll take some questions during the break before I jump right in. Okay. So if you got a question right now, it's okay. Just hold it. I'm gonna try to burn through some of these if I can for the next 10 minutes. All right, here's a good one. Has anyone ever asked you to preach on a subject, or I'm sorry, did you ever preach on a subject because someone asked you? Okay, now I'm going to answer this in two ways. Number one, at River City, at my own church, absolutely not. um, I just don't go. I just don't go down that road. I don't. I don't. I can't let people in any way influence what I'm going to preach. I just believe the Lord's got to be the one that influences that as a whole. I got a funny story about that. My first Sunday, very first Sunday, we had this really odd dude in our church named Bob. And Bob was just, I mean, he was just the strangest dude. He was actually a converted Jew, which was super interesting because you don't meet many of them. So he was a Jewish guy. But man, I mean, just strange doesn't even cut it. Let me tell you how strange. Okay. This is the first day. This is my first Sunday officially as pastor, July 31st, 2016. And we had this little hospitality room that they had set up for guests to come by. And so I was always at the end of the services, I'd go out to this guest, little room, this reception room. And so Bob came in this first Sunday, and he picked up a cookie off of the cookie tray. No joke, broke it in half, put the other half back on the cookie tray. and then ate the half. And I'm just sitting there going, Bob, come on, man. Like you don't put like nobody in their right mind would put just throw it away. Okay, Bob, just throw it away. So that's Bob, for you. Well, Bob walks right up to me. I'm first day, and this is the question he asked me: when are you going to preach on prophecy? Because he was like this, prophecy junkie or whatever. And this was my answer: I'll preach on prophecy when it comes up. Okay. Meaning I'm going to continue to preach through the Bible just like I am. When prophecy comes up, I'm going to address prophecy when it comes up. So that was my answer. Now, the second part of that answer is yes, I have preached because someone asked me. I've been invited to speak as a guest and been assigned topics before, both in conference preaching like in a general session. I've been assigned workshop sessions before, and so yeah. Sometimes I do that. All right, that's a great question. Let me go on and get a couple more in before I break. This is great. This is a great question. With the many responsibilities of a pastor, how often do you invest in people, such as discipling someone or meeting with someone like one-on-one? Great question. I want to address this from a couple angles here. Number one, I think it's incredibly important as a pastor that you understand and define your responsibilities, and then that you really clarify with your church what your responsibilities are. You have to set those expectations. Everybody's got expectations of what a pastor is and what a pastor does. And I think it's part of your job as a pastor to set the expectations for your congregation. Like I can't change people's expectations, what they have internally, but I can set expectations. So I get questions like this a lot. And it always starts the same way. I think somebody else even asked one that was very similar. When you have all these various responsibilities, how do you A, B, C, and D? So the first part of my answer is this: clarify your responsibilities. Okay, what are your responsibilities? And I would tell you that your responsibilities are predominantly to study and preach the Bible, to pray for others, and to mentor and train and disciple people. So I have three different set times that I intentionally disciple people. I determine who I give my time to. Okay, not I don't let people dictate my schedule. I dictate my schedule. So number one, my first meeting is I have a group of men in the church that believe God has called them to be senior pastors. And I meet with them every other Wednesday at 6:30 a.m. for 45 minutes for training. Okay. Both of them have jobs. Even though one of them is actually my associate pastor, but he has a job too. And so we meet before they have to be at work. It's at 6:30 on Wednesdays. So I go this semester. I go from that meeting to teaching a class at 8 o'clock at Appalachian. So it's a pretty busy morning. That's tomorrow morning actually. So that's one. Secondly, I do a men's Bible study where I am investing in the men of our church. That meeting is on the other Wednesday at 6:30 a.m. So I do the pastoral training one at 6:30. Then every other Wednesday I do the men's Bible study. And then twice a month on Sunday after church, I invest into my church leaders, which is about 30 people. These are deacons, pastors, and department heads, ladies ministry director, moms ministry director, men's ministry director, first impressions leaders, just Bible study leaders, all those people. And I just update them on things. I give them a piece of ministry advice and training. And so I do the deacons the first Sunday of the month. I do the leaders the second Sunday of the month. And then on the first Sunday of the month before church, I meet with all the prospective new church members, and I also disciple them. So now, as far as like one-on-one discipleship, like sitting down with a new Christian, going through the Bible, I don't do a lot of that myself because we funnel everybody through a class, and it's a rotating class. So it's not something I personally do. Now, if I have personally, there are times that I have people that I'm more personally invested in that I will spend more time with, but it's not as formal, if you will. And then I would say this: anytime somebody really wants to have an appointment with me, I will set an appointment with people. It's not like I'm untouchable. It's just that I have my schedule, and if somebody says, "Hey, I want to meet with you, Pastor," number one thing, it's always true. It's always going to be on an afternoon, always, because I don't give up my mornings for study. Every morning I study. I spent 3 hours this morning studying for Sunday morning and Wednesday night Bible studies. That's all I did this morning. But if somebody needs to see me, I say, sure. And here's my answer every time, every single time. I need you to go talk to Sarah. Now, Sarah is my administrative assistant. I just push people to her. She knows my schedule. She knows what I want. She knows how I work, and she takes care of that for me. So she's got access to my calendar. She puts people in there, and that's the way we function. So that's how I find time. So my calendar week is mainly preaching, praying. I do have those appointments with people, and then I do a little bit of administration, and most of that's in the afternoon. Like currently, I am working on what we call Celebration Sunday. And that's a presentation we do at the end of the year, just looking back about all the things God did. We take up an offering, we do our budget approval for the congregation. There's a lot going on that day. That's December 1st. So I have a little bit of administration I do that day.